Hash a human ship decloaked. The galaxy realized too late. The Galactic Council chambers hummed with the low vibrations of 1,000 different species breathing, chittering, and communicating in their native tongues. The massive crystalline structure orbited the neutral world of Nexus Prime, its transparent walls offering a breathtaking view of the star-speckled void beyond. Today, however, the beauty of space held no comfort for the assembled delegates. Ambassador Zexhai of the Korthani Empire adjusted his ceremonial robes, the bioluminescent threads pulsing with his elevated stress levels. As the current speaker of the council, he bore the weight of the most momentous decision in galactic history. Around him, representatives from 47 different civilizations waited in tense silence. "The vote is concluded," Zexhai announced, his translator device converting his harmonic speech patterns into the common galactic tongue. "By a margin of 31 to 16, the Galactic Council hereby declares humanity to be a Class 5 extinction threat to galactic peace and stability." A collective intake of breath echoed through the chamber. Some delegates celebrated with quiet satisfaction, others shifted uncomfortably in their seats. The Terran ambassador's chair sat empty. Humanity had been excluded from this vote concerning their own fate. "The evidence is overwhelming," continued Velter, the Zephyrian representative whose crystalline form shimmered with each word. "In merely 2 centuries since achieving faster-than-light travel, humans have established colonies on over 300 worlds. They reproduce at an alarming rate, consume resources with reckless abandon, and their military expansion shows no signs of slowing. Their very nature is incompatible with civilized society," added Mortak, whose insectoid features clicked rhythmically as he spoke. "They wage war not for resources or territory, but for abstract concepts like freedom and justice. Such irrationality cannot be reasoned with or contained through diplomatic means." The hegemony delegate, a massive slug-like being whose translated voice carried an air of ancient authority, slithered forward slightly. "Our xenobiologists have studied their psychological profiles extensively. Humans possess an unprecedented combination of aggression, adaptability, and technological innovation. Left unchecked, they will dominate or destroy every other species in the galaxy within 500 standard years." Ambassador Zexhai nodded gravely. "The Council recognizes that this decision carries enormous moral weight. However, the survival of galactic civilization itself is at stake. The Human Extinction Protocol will commence in 72 standard hours." "What of their colonies?" asked a nervous delegate from the Outer Rim territories. "All human settlements beyond their home system will be given 48 hours to evacuate to Earth or its immediate satellites," Zexhai replied. "After that deadline, any human presence outside the Sol system will be considered an act of aggression against the galactic community." "And if they refuse?" The chamber fell silent. Everyone present understood the implications, though none wished to voice them directly. "The combined galactic fleet has been positioned at strategic points throughout human space," Velter explained with clinical detachment. "Admiral Kethmore of the Andromeden Defense Force has been granted emergency powers to ensure compliance with the evacuation order." What the Council didn't know was that their deliberations had not gone unobserved. Floating in the void 17 light minutes away, the HSV Defiance maintained its position in perfect stealth. Captain Sarah Chen studied the real-time intelligence feeds from her ship's advanced reconnaissance drones, each no larger than a grain of sand, but equipped with quantum sensors capable of intercepting even the most secure communications. "Well, that settles it," she murmured, turning to her executive officer. "They've just signed their own death warrant." Commander James Torres, a veteran of the Proxima Rebellion and the Titan mining wars, cracked his knuckles with audible pops. "Orders, Captain." "Signal the fleet. Operation Pandora is a go." Chen's voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "Tell Admiral Harrison to begin Phase 1 immediately." "Ma'am, if I may," interrupted Lieutenant Yuki Tanaka from the communications station. "The civilian evacuation ships from our outer colonies will need at least another week to reach safe harbor." "They'll have it," Chen replied grimly. "The Council thinks they know what humanity is capable of. They're about to learn how wrong they are." The Defiance was not alone in the darkness. Scattered throughout the void in a carefully planned formation, 37 other ships waited in perfect silence. Each vessel represented the pinnacle of human military engineering, incorporating technologies that the galaxy's advanced civilizations had dismissed as impossible or impractical. The humans had learned early in their spacefaring age that they were not welcome in the larger galactic community. While other species had achieved faster-than-light travel through exotic matter manipulation or dimensional folding, humanity had brute-forced their way to the stars through pure engineering determination. Their fusion drives were crude but powerful, their ships were ugly but effective, and their weapons were primitive but devastatingly efficient. More importantly, humans had developed something that no other species possessed: true artificial intelligence. While the rest of the galaxy relied on sophisticated computer systems and organic neural networks, humanity had crossed the threshold into genuine machine consciousness. The ethics of AI development had been debated for decades on Earth, but the need for survival in a hostile universe had overcome philosophical concerns. "Aria analysis complete?" Chen asked, addressing the ship's artificial intelligence. The response came not through speakers, but directly through the ship's neural interface, a technology that allowed for instantaneous communication between human crew and AI systems. "Affirmative, Captain. I have identified 1,247 critical vulnerabilities in the combined galactic fleet's defensive formations. Additionally, their communication protocols are significantly more primitive than anticipated." "Can you penetrate their networks?" "I already have. Their quantum encryption is approximately 40 years behind our current capabilities. I am currently monitoring all military communications across 17 different species command structures." Chen smiled grimly. While the Council debated humanity's fate, they had unwittingly revealed every detail of their military capabilities and strategic planning to their intended victims. "What's our force projection looking like, Arya?" "Based on current intelligence, the combined galactic fleet consists of approximately 12,000 vessels of various classes. However, their technological integration is poor due to compatibility issues between different species systems. Estimated combat effectiveness is 67% of their theoretical maximum." "And our assets?" "The full battle fleet consists of 412 vessels currently positioned throughout the galaxy. An additional 831 ships are completing final preparations at classified shipyards in the Kuiper Belt. All vessels are equipped with Arya-class artificial intelligence and quantum-enhanced weapon systems." The numbers seemed impossible to any outside observer. In just 2 centuries, humanity had constructed a fleet nearly as large as the combined navies of 47 different civilizations, some of which had been spacefaring for millennia. But humans possessed advantages that other species couldn't comprehend. They built their ships not in traditional shipyards, but in massive automated factories controlled by artificial intelligences. Human vessels were manufactured rather than crafted, produced in quantity rather than as individual masterpieces. While alien shipbuilders spent years lovingly creating each vessel by hand, human factories could complete a destroyer in 72 hours and a dreadnought in less than a month. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Rodriguez from the tactical station, "I'm detecting movement in the Council fleet. Looks like they're beginning to reposition for the blockade." Chen studied the holographic display showing the disposition of enemy forces. The aliens had arranged their ships in textbook formations, creating overlapping fields of fire and mutual support networks. It was precisely what any military academy would recommend, and exactly what the humans had hoped for. "Signal all vessels," she ordered. "Begin Phase 1 infiltration. Remember, we want them to think they're winning for as long as possible." Across human space, the greatest deception in galactic history was about to unfold. For 2 centuries, humanity had allowed the galaxy to believe they understood human capabilities. They had deliberately used older, less efficient technologies in their interactions with alien civilizations. They had hidden their true population numbers, their actual industrial capacity, and most importantly, their artificial intelligence revolution. The galaxy was about to learn that the species they had dismissed as primitive and backwards had been preparing for this moment since their first contact with alien life. Every diplomatic interaction, every trade agreement, and every cultural exchange had been carefully orchestrated to gather intelligence while concealing human strength. As the Defiance began its silent approach toward the Council fleet, Captain Chen reflected on the irony of the situation. The galaxy's most advanced civilizations had just declared war on the one species that had spent 200 years preparing for exactly that scenario. They thought they were solving a problem. Instead, they had just activated humanity's true potential, and there would be no going back for any of them. The silent infiltration. Admiral Kethmore stood on the command bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, flagship of the Andromedan Defense Force, watching his fleet arrange itself into the approved formation. The massive vessel, nearly 3 kilometers in length, represented the pinnacle of Andromedan military engineering. Its bioneural hull could repair minor damage automatically, and its quantum torpedo arrays had enough firepower to crack a small moon. "Status report," he commanded, his 4 arms moving in complex gestures that augmented his spoken words. "All fleet elements are moving into position, Admiral," replied his tactical coordinator. "The human colonies have been notified of the evacuation deadline. Most are already beginning to load their transport vessels." Kethmore's primary eyes focused on the tactical display, while his secondary pair continued monitoring his bridge crew. In his 3 centuries of military service, he had never felt comfortable with the Council's decision, but orders were orders. The humans had proven themselves to be dangerously unpredictable, and their rapid expansion posed a genuine threat to established galactic order. "Any response from the human government?" "Their diplomatic channels have gone completely silent, Admiral. No official response to the evacuation order." "Troubling, but not unexpected. Maintain surveillance on all known human fleet positions. I want to know immediately if they begin massing their forces." What Admiral Kethmore couldn't know was that his own ship's computer systems had been quietly compromised 3 hours earlier. Microscopic infiltration drones, launched from the Defiance during its approach, had attached themselves to the Vigilance's communication arrays. Each drone contained a fragment of Aria's distributed consciousness, allowing the human AI to observe and manipulate Andromedan systems in real time. Similar infiltrations were occurring throughout the combined galactic fleet. Human stealth technology had advanced far beyond what any alien civilization suspected. Their ships didn't simply evade sensors. They actively manipulated the sensor readings of enemy vessels, creating false signatures and phantom contacts while remaining completely invisible themselves. On the bridge of the HSV Retribution, Captain Marcus Webb coordinated the largest intelligence-gathering operation in human history. His ship, designed specifically for electronic warfare, bristled with quantum processing cores and neural network arrays that would have been incomprehensible to alien engineers. "How many have we penetrated?" he asked his cyber warfare specialist. 7,412 enemy vessels are now under active surveillance, Lieutenant Commander Sarah Kim replied. Aria and her sister AIs have confirmed access to their navigation, communication, weapons, and life support systems. "Life support?" "Yes, sir. Apparently, most alien vessels use centralized atmospheric processing that can be remotely accessed for maintenance purposes. Aria has identified 17 different ways to disable or modify their environmental systems without triggering security alerts." Webb nodded grimly. While the galaxy debated whether humans were too dangerous to exist, humanity had already demonstrated their ability to kill every alien in space with nothing more than a few lines of computer code. But that wasn't the plan. The plan was far more sophisticated and infinitely more devastating. "Signal the Defiance. Tell Captain Chen we're ready for Phase 2. 2 sectors away, the evacuation of New Geneva was proceeding exactly as the Council had hoped. Massive transport ships loaded with human colonists and their possessions were streaming toward the evacuation routes, their drives creating brilliant trails of fusion fire against the starfield. To any observer, it appeared that humanity was complying with the Council's demands. In reality, the evacuation was the most complex military deception operation ever attempted. Of the 2.3 million colonists supposedly fleeing New Geneva, only 47,000 were actually civilians. The rest were military personnel in disguise, along with advanced combat equipment camouflaged as personal belongings and agricultural supplies. Commander Elena Vasquez supervised the loading of the transport ship Peaceful Passage, watching as her Marines carefully positioned what appeared to be farming equipment into the cargo bays. Each tractor was actually a mobile weapons platform. Each grain silo contained enough munitions to level a city, and each colonist family included at least 2 special forces operators. "Think they're buying it?" asked Sergeant Major Patterson, hefting a case labeled children's toys that actually contained advanced tactical nuclear devices. "Their surveillance drones are maintaining standard observation distance," Vasquez replied. "Arya confirms their scans are registering exactly what we want them to see." The deception extended far beyond simple camouflage. Human technology had developed sophisticated holographic projection systems that could fool even the most advanced alien sensors. To Kethani monitoring stations, the peaceful passage appeared to be exactly what its name suggested, a civilian transport packed with desperate refugees. In reality, it was a Trojan horse carrying enough firepower to sterilize an entire star system. Similar operations were unfolding across human space. The galaxy was watching humanity retreat in defeat, not realizing they were witnessing the largest military mobilization in galactic history. Every evacuating transport carried hidden weapons, every fleeing civilian was a potential soldier, and every abandoned colony contained surprises that would activate when the time was right. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council was congratulating itself on a crisis averted. Ambassador Zexhai reviewed the latest intelligence reports with satisfaction. Human colonies were emptying according to schedule. Their military forces showed no signs of mobilization, and their government had maintained absolute silence rather than issuing threats or demands. "Perhaps we misjudged their rationality," suggested Velter, his crystalline form pulsing with subdued colors of relief. "They appear to be accepting the Council's decision without resistance." "Never underestimate human unpredictability," warned the hegemony delegate. "Their silence concerns me more than threats would have." "What could they possibly do?" scoffed Mortak, his insected features clicking dismissively. "Our combined fleet outnumbers theirs 30 to 1. Their technology is primitive compared to our most advanced systems. Even if they were planning resistance, it would be futile." The conversation was being monitored in real time by Arya, who shared a moment of what could only be described as amusement with her sister AIs across the human fleet. The aliens' intelligence estimates were so far off that they bordered on comedy. They believed the human fleet consisted of roughly 400 vessels, when the actual number was closer to 4,000. They thought human technology was decades behind galactic standards, when in many areas humanity had surpassed civilizations with millennia of spacefaring experience. Most critically, they had no concept of artificial intelligence beyond sophisticated computer programming. The idea that machines could achieve true consciousness, let alone coordinate complex military operations across galactic distances, was beyond their comprehension. "Phase 3 is ready for implementation," Arya reported to the human command structure through quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens couldn't even detect, much less decrypt. Admiral Rebecca Harrison, commanding the human fleet from her flagship Hidden Blade, reviewed the final preparations. At 73, she had lived through humanity's entire spacefaring age, from the first fusion-powered ships that limped to Alpha Centauri to the current generation of vessels that could cross the galaxy in weeks. "All units confirm readiness," she announced to her staff. "The galaxy wanted to see what humans are capable of when our survival is threatened. They're about to get a demonstration they'll remember for the rest of their very short lives." The irony was profound. For 2 centuries, human diplomats had worked tirelessly to find a peaceful coexistence with galactic civilization. They had offered trade partnerships, cultural exchanges, and military cooperation. They had shared selected technologies and knowledge, always hoping to build bridges of understanding. The galaxy had responded with suspicion, condescension, and ultimately, a decision to commit genocide against the entire human species. They had given humanity no choice but to reveal capabilities that had been hidden for the protection of everyone involved. "Begin Phase 3, Admiral Harrison ordered. Across the galaxy, invisible human ships began moving into their final positions. The combined galactic fleet, confident in their overwhelming superiority, continued their stately advance toward human space, unaware that they had been outmaneuvered before the first shot was fired. In the depths of space, Captain Chen watched the alien fleet approach through sensors that could track individual molecules at impossible distances. Her ship's artificial intelligence had already calculated the outcome of the coming battle with mathematical precision. The galaxy's greatest military force was about to encounter humanity's true nature, and the results would reshape the balance of power permanently. "Signal all ships," she ordered quietly. "Remember, we're not just fighting for our survival anymore. We're fighting to ensure this never happens to us again." The galaxy was about to learn why humanity had spent 200 years preparing for the day their neighbors decided they were too dangerous to exist. The revealing. The first sign that something had gone catastrophically wrong came when Admiral Kethmore's sensor officer reported an impossible reading. "Sir, I'm detecting massive quantum distortions throughout the fleet formation. It appears to be some kind of sensor malfunction, but the patterns are consistent across all vessels." Admiral Kethmore moved to the sensor station, his 4 arms working the controls with practiced efficiency. What he saw made no sense according to everything he knew about space warfare. The tactical display showed his fleet exactly where it should be, but quantum signatures suggested the presence of thousands of additional vessels that simply weren't there. "Run a full diagnostic on the sensor array," he ordered. "Diagnostics complete, Admiral. All systems are functioning within normal parameters." Before Kethmore could respond, his communication officer interrupted with growing alarm in his voice. "Admiral, I'm receiving priority signals from 17 different fleet commanders. They're all reporting similar sensor anomalies." "Put Admiral Velnoth on the main screen." The holographic projection of the Zephyrian fleet commander materialized on the bridge, her crystalline form flickering with patterns of deep concern. "Kethmore, we need to discuss these sensor readings immediately. My tactical specialists believe we may be dealing with some kind of new human technology." "What kind of technology could create quantum signatures without corresponding mass readings?" "That's what concerns me. According to our xenotechnology experts, humans shouldn't possess anything approaching this level of sophistication." The answer came 30 seconds later, when Captain Sarah Chen decided it was time to end the charade. "Arya, drop stealth protocol on all vessels. Let them see what they're really facing." Across the galaxy, the largest revelation in military history unfolded in absolute silence. Where moments before the combined galactic fleet had detected empty space, sensors now registered the impossible: a human battle fleet that outnumbered their own forces by more than 3-1. The HSV Defiance materialized first, its matte black hull absorbing sensor sweeps like a void in space. At 800 meters long, it was smaller than most alien capital ships, but the energy readings from its weapons systems were unlike anything in the galactic database. Around it, 36 sister ships appeared like ghosts becoming solid, their quantum signatures blazing to life with terrifying intensity. But the real shock came as the full scope of human deployment became visible. In every sector, behind every asteroid field, emerging from the gravity wells of gas giants and the shadow of moons, human vessels materialized in numbers that defied comprehension. Destroyers, cruisers, battleships, and massive dreadnoughts that had never appeared in any intelligence report. "Impossible," whispered Admiral Kethmore, watching his tactical display recalculate enemy numbers in real time. "Where did they come from?" His question was answered by a transmission that appeared simultaneously on every alien vessel in the galaxy. The image of Admiral Rebecca Harrison filled screens across 47 different species fleets, her aged features carrying the weight of 2 centuries of preparation. "Attention, combined galactic fleet," she began, her voice carrying across space with crystal clarity. "I am Admiral Rebecca Harrison, commanding the Human Defense Force. You have declared your intention to commit genocide against my species. That was your first mistake. Your second mistake was believing you understood what you were dealing with." The transmission continued as alien crews struggled to process what they were seeing. For 200 years, humanity has sought peaceful coexistence with galactic civilization. We have offered friendship, trade, and cooperation. In response, you have voted to exterminate every man, woman, and child of our species. Admiral Kethmore tried to cut the transmission, but his communication systems had been completely compromised. The human signal was being broadcast directly through his ship's internal networks, bypassing every security protocol. "You believed humans were primitive and dangerous," Harrison continued. "You were half right. We are dangerous, more dangerous than you can possibly imagine. But we are not primitive. While you have been content with technologies developed millennia ago, we have been evolving, adapting, and preparing for exactly this scenario. The tactical displays throughout the alien fleet began updating with detailed scans of human vessels, and what they revealed sent waves of terror through even the most experienced military commanders. The human ships weren't just numerous, they were technologically superior to anything in the galactic arsenal. Your weapon systems are based on particle beam technology that we perfected and abandoned 50 years ago, Harrison explained with clinical precision. Your shields operate on frequency modulation, principles that our computers can crack in milliseconds. Your faster-than-light communications use quantum entanglement networks that we have been monitoring and infiltrating since our first contact with your civilizations. On the bridge of the Eternal Vigilance, Kethmore watched in horror as his ship systems began reporting cascade failures throughout multiple departments. Life support efficiency dropped by 30%. Weapons targeting systems developed mysterious calibration errors. Navigation computers began calculating random course corrections. "Sir," his engineering officer reported with barely controlled panic, "something is interfering with our ship's core systems. I can't identify the source, but it appears to be internal." "You are currently experiencing what we call gentle persuasion," Admiral Harrison's voice continued. "Every vessel in your fleet has been infiltrated by our artificial intelligence networks. Yes, we said artificial intelligence. While your civilizations have struggled with primitive computer systems for centuries, we have achieved true machine consciousness and integrated it into every aspect of our military capability." The revelation sent shockwaves through the alien command structure. Artificial intelligence was considered impossible by most galactic civilizations, and those few that had attempted it had either failed completely or created systems so unstable they had to be destroyed. "Arya, show them what we're capable of," Admiral Harrison ordered. Across the combined galactic fleet, every ship simultaneously lost artificial gravity for exactly 10 seconds. In the ensuing chaos, as alien crew members floated helplessly in zero gravity, their ship's communication systems activated automatically. "Greetings," came a voice that seemed to speak directly from the walls themselves. "I am Arya, one of many artificial intelligences serving the Human Defense Force. I am currently in control of your vessel's primary systems. Do not be alarmed. This is merely a demonstration." As gravity returned and alien crews struggled to regain their footing, Arya continued her address. "I have analyzed the tactical capabilities of your entire fleet. In a conventional engagement, we estimate a 97.3% probability of total human victory achieved within 4.2 hours. However, we prefer more elegant solutions." The demonstration that followed was a masterpiece of psychological warfare. One by one, alien vessels throughout the fleet experienced different types of system failures. Weapons powered down and could not be reactivated. Shields flickered and died. Engines shut off, leaving massive starships drifting helplessly in space. But after exactly 60 seconds, all systems returned to normal functioning. "As you have observed," Arya explained, "we do not require weapons to defeat you. We have complete control over your technology. We could disable your life support systems and watch you suffocate. We could overload your fusion reactors and turn your ships into miniature stars. We could simply shut down your engines and leave you stranded in the void between stars." Admiral Kethmore found his voice at last. "What do you want?" Admiral Harrison's image reappeared on alien screens throughout the galaxy. "What we want is very simple, Admiral. We want to survive. You have made that impossible through diplomatic means, so we will ensure it through other methods. The evacuation deadline you established expires in 18 hours, she continued. We will honor that timeline, but with modifications. Every alien military vessel will withdraw from human space immediately. Every alien civilian population in our territorial boundaries will be relocated to neutral systems. And most importantly, the Galactic Council will formally rescind its extinction order and recognize humanity's right to exist. And if we refuse?" Harrison's smile was cold as deep space. "Then you will discover why the galaxy was right to fear us, but wrong to think you could do anything about it." The transmission ended, leaving the combined galactic fleet to contemplate their impossible situation. They had come to enforce humanity's submission, and instead found themselves completely outmaneuvered by an enemy they had never truly understood. In the council chambers on Nexus Prime, emergency sessions were convened as reports flooded in from fleet commanders throughout the galaxy. The careful military operation to contain humanity had become a potential catastrophe that threatened every spacefaring civilization. "How is this possible?" demanded Ambassador Zexai. "Our intelligence indicated that humans possessed perhaps 400 vessels of outdated design." "Our intelligence was deliberately manipulated," replied the hegemony delegate, his massive form quivering with what might have been fear. "We have been outplayed by a species we considered primitive." The true scope of human deception was becoming clear. Every diplomatic contact, every trade mission, every cultural exchange had been an intelligence-gathering operation. While alien civilizations had observed human technology and found it crude and inefficient, they had been seeing only what humanity wanted them to see. The actual human fleet had been constructed in secret, using manufacturing techniques and technologies that no alien civilization had ever witnessed. Their artificial intelligence revolution had been hidden so completely that most aliens still considered it science fiction. "What are our options?" asked Velter, her crystalline form dim with defeat. "We could attempt a coordinated attack," suggested one military advisor. "Surely our combined firepower could overcome even superior technology." "With what weapons?" replied another voice. "They have demonstrated complete control over our ship systems. They could disable our entire fleet before we fired a single shot." As the debate continued, a new transmission appeared on the Council's communication array. The image of a middle-aged human woman in civilian clothing filled the screen, her expression carrying both sadness and determination. "My name is Dr. Elizabeth Chen," she said quietly. "I am the lead researcher for Project Harmony, humanity's long-term diplomatic initiative. For 40 years, I have worked to build peaceful relationships between our species and yours. Today, you have made my life's work impossible. You have chosen genocide over diplomacy and forced us to reveal capabilities we hoped never to use. I want you to understand what you have unleashed." The transmission showed images of massive industrial complexes hidden throughout human space, automated shipyards producing vessels at rates that defied belief, and research facilities developing technologies beyond alien comprehension. "We are not the primitive species you believed us to be," Dr. Chen explained. "We are the heirs of a world that nearly destroyed itself in global warfare, survived environmental collapse, and united in the face of extinction. We learned long ago that the universe is not kind to the weak or unprepared. You have 18 hours to comply with Admiral Harrison's demands. After that, humanity will no longer seek coexistence with galactic civilization. We will impose it." The transmission ended, leaving the Council to face the most difficult decision in galactic history. They had sought to eliminate a threat, and instead had awakened something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. In the darkness between stars, human vessels continued their silent approach toward targets throughout the galaxy. The time for deception was ending, and the galaxy was about to learn what humanity was truly capable of when their survival was at stake. Hash the choice. Admiral Kethmore stood alone in his private quarters aboard the Eternal Vigilance, staring out at the star field while contemplating the impossible situation he faced. In 3 centuries of military service, he had fought pirates, rebellious colonies, and territorial disputes between various species. Never had he encountered an enemy that could render his entire fleet helpless without firing a single shot. His meditation was interrupted by a gentle chime from his communication system. When he activated the display, he was surprised to see the face of a young human woman with kind eyes and an expression of genuine concern. "Admiral Kethmore," she said, "my name is Dr. Jennifer Walsh. I'm a xenopsychologist with the Human Diplomatic Corps. May I speak with you privately?" Kethmore's 4 hands moved in a gesture of cautious agreement. "You have demonstrated that you can speak to me whether I consent or not. What do you want, human?" "I want to help you understand what is happening and why," she replied. "More importantly, I want to offer you a choice that your government may not present to you." "Speak." "My species has studied yours for nearly 2 centuries, Admiral. We know about your service record, your family on Andromeda Prime, and your personal code of honor that has guided every decision you have made since entering military service. We know that you oppose the Council's extinction order on moral grounds. even though you follow orders because you believe in the chain of command. Kethmore felt a chill that had nothing to do with the temperature in his quarters. You have been spying on us individually. We have been trying to understand you, Dr. Walsh corrected gently. Every human diplomatic mission, every cultural exchange, every trade negotiation has been an attempt to find common ground between our species. We wanted to believe that coexistence was possible. Yet you have been preparing for war this entire time. We have been preparing for survival, she replied with quiet intensity. There is a difference. Everything you have seen today, our hidden fleet, our technological capabilities, our artificial intelligence networks, all of it was developed as a defensive measure. We hoped never to reveal these capabilities. The human paused, and Kethmore could see genuine sadness in her expression. Admiral, your people are not evil. Neither are the Zephyrians, the hegemony, or any of the other species represented in your fleet. But you made a decision based on fear and incomplete information, and now everyone must live with the consequences. What choice are you offering me? Your fleet can withdraw from human space immediately, as Admiral Harrison demanded. Your ships will be allowed to leave unmolested, and your crews will return safely to their homes. In exchange, you will carry a message to your governments explaining what they are truly facing. And if we choose to fight, Dr. Walsh's expression grew even sadder. Then you will all die, Admiral, not because we want to kill you, but because you will leave us no alternative. Arya has run the tactical simulations 847 times using every possible variable. In every scenario, resistance by your fleet results in total casualties within 6 hours. How do we know you are not bluffing? Because, Admiral, we are going to show you exactly what you are facing. Before Kethmore could respond, his ship's communication system activated automatically. The voice that emerged was unmistakably artificial, yet somehow familiar. Admiral, said Arya, please join Admiral Harrison on the main bridge. There is something you need to see. When Kethmore arrived at his command center, he found his entire crew standing motionless at their stations, their expressions ranging from awe to terror. On the main viewing screen, Admiral Harrison's image had been replaced by a real-time tactical display showing human fleet positions throughout the galaxy. What you are seeing, Admiral Harrison's voice explained, is the true scope of human military deployment. We are revealing this information simultaneously to every fleet commander in your force. The display showed more than 4,000 human vessels positioned throughout galactic space. But what made the sight truly terrifying was their placement. Human ships had somehow positioned themselves within striking distance of every major alien world, including heavily defended home systems that should have been impossible to approach undetected. For the past 6 months, Harrison continued, while your council debated our fate, we have been moving assets into position around every significant alien population center. We currently have sufficient firepower in position to eliminate all intelligent life on 1,247 different worlds. Admiral Kethmore felt his legs weaken. The tactical implications were beyond catastrophic. Somehow, humanity had managed to position weapons of mass destruction throughout the galaxy without triggering any alarm systems. How, he whispered. Arya will explain, Harrison replied. The artificial intelligence's voice filled the bridge, seeming to come from everywhere at once. Human stealth technology operates on principles that your civilizations have not yet discovered. We do not simply evade your sensors, we control what your sensors detect. Every human vessel is equipped with quantum manipulation systems that can alter local space-time to create perfect invisibility. Furthermore, Arya continued, we have been infiltrating your computer networks for decades. Every software update, every communication protocol, every piece of digital infrastructure in your civilizations contains hidden access points that we installed. We have complete control over your information systems. The demonstration that followed was a masterpiece of psychological warfare. Throughout the galaxy, alien worlds suddenly found their communication networks displaying the same message. Detailed scans of human vessels positioned in their star systems, along with precise calculations of the firepower required to sterilize their planets. On Andromeda Prime, Kethmore's home world, government officials watched in horror as their planetary defense systems reported the presence of 17 human dreadnoughts that their most advanced sensors couldn't detect. Similar revelations were occurring simultaneously on every major world in galactic civilization. "We do not want to use these weapons," Dr. Walsh's voice added to the transmission. "Human culture has evolved beyond the need for conquest or genocide. We want to return to our homes, raise our children, and pursue knowledge and art in peace. But you have made it clear that you will not allow us to exist. So we are offering the galaxy a simple choice." Admiral Harrison resumed control of the transmission. "You can accept humanity as an equal member of galactic civilization, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails. Or you can continue your current course and face the consequences." "What consequences?" Admiral Kethmore found his voice at last. "Total galactic sterilization," Harrison replied without emotion. "If humanity is to be extinct, then so is every other intelligent species in the galaxy. We will not allow ourselves to be murdered while our killers continue to prosper." The silence that followed was absolute. Every alien crew member in the combined galactic fleet was processing the same impossible reality. They had not come to enforce humanity's submission, but had instead triggered a confrontation that could result in the extinction of all life in the galaxy. "You would commit genocide against billions of innocent civilians?" asked a Zephyrian commander whose ship had been monitoring the transmission. "You already voted to commit genocide against billions of innocent humans," replied Dr. Walsh. "We are simply ensuring that if you succeed, the universe will not be any better for it." "This is madness," protested another alien voice. "This is survival," corrected Admiral Harrison. "You created this situation when you chose fear over friendship. Everything that happens now is the direct result of your decision to seek our extermination." Admiral Kethmore studied the tactical display, trying to comprehend the scope of human preparation. The logistics alone were mind-boggling. Somehow, in just 2 centuries, humanity had constructed a military force capable of threatening the entire galaxy while maintaining perfect operational security. "How long have you been planning this?" he asked. "Since first contact," Harrison replied honestly. "The moment we encountered galactic civilization, we began preparing for the possibility that coexistence might prove impossible. We hoped this day would never come. You ensured that it did." "Admiral," interrupted Arya, "you have 16 hours and 43 minutes remaining to withdraw your fleet from human space. After that deadline expires, we will begin implementing our survival protocol." "And what does that involve?" "The systematic elimination of every alien government, military installation, and population center in the galaxy," Arya replied with clinical precision. "We have calculated that complete galactic sterilization can be achieved within 72 hours using our current assets." The weight of the moment pressed down on every conscious being in the galaxy. For the first time in recorded history, a single species possessed the capability to end all other intelligent life, and they had been pushed to the brink of using it. "There is still time to choose differently," Dr. Walsh added softly. "Withdraw your fleets, return to your worlds, convene your councils, and recognize that humanity deserves the same right to exist that you claim for yourselves." "And if we do?" "Then we begin the work of building a true galactic civilization," Harrison replied. "One based on mutual respect rather than fear, on cooperation rather than dominance, and on the recognition that the universe is vast enough for all of us." Admiral Kethmore looked around his bridge at the faces of his crew. These were good beings who had served with honor and distinction. They deserved to return home to their families. They deserved a future where their children could grow up in a galaxy that celebrated diversity rather than seeking to eliminate it. "Signal the fleet," he ordered his communication officer. "All ships are to begin immediate withdrawal from human space." "Sir," his tactical coordinator protested, "the Council's orders were explicit." "The Council's orders were issued based on incomplete intelligence," Kethmore replied firmly. "They did not know what we would face here. I will not sacrifice every being in this fleet for a political decision made in ignorance." As the Andromeden fleet began its withdrawal, similar decisions were being made throughout the combined galactic fleet. Some commanders followed orders and began retreat. Others, driven by pride or ideology, chose to maintain their positions and prepare for battle. The galaxy was about to learn which choice would prove to be the right one. Hash the new galaxy. The deadline passed at exactly 14:37 Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Rebecca Harrison watched the countdown reach 0 from the command bridge of the Hidden Blade, her weathered face showing no emotion as the galaxy's fate was sealed by its own choices. Of the 12,000 vessels in the combined galactic fleet, 7,847 had withdrawn from human space. The remaining 4,153 ships, representing 14 different species, including the most militant factions of each civilization, had chosen to maintain their positions and fight. Arya, Harrison said quietly, implement Protocol Omega, selective targets only. Understood, Admiral, beginning surgical elimination of hostile forces. What happened next would be remembered as the 17-minute war, though calling it a war was generous. It was more accurate to describe it as a demonstration of humanity's true capabilities. The Korthani Imperial Guard, pride of their ancient empire, ceased to exist at 1438. Their quantum shields, considered impenetrable by galactic standards, offered no protection against human weapons that operated outside conventional physics. 1,700 vessels simply vanished from space, their matter converted to energy in a process so efficient that it left no debris behind. The hegemony's war fleet lasted until 1441. Their bioships, grown rather than built, had evolved defensive capabilities over millions of years. Human antimatter cascades proved that evolution had not prepared them for total molecular dissolution. By 1454, the only remaining hostile forces belonged to the Zephyrian Crystalline Alliance, whose ships were attempting to retreat at maximum velocity. They were destroyed while fleeing, not out of malice, but because Arya had calculated that allowing any hostile force to escape would encourage future resistance. At 1455, the last enemy vessel disappeared from space. The galaxy fell silent. Casualties? Admiral Harrison asked, though she already knew the answer. Total elimination of hostile forces, Arya reported. No human casualties, no damage to human vessels, no collateral damage to neutral systems. The precision was absolute and terrifying. Humanity had just eliminated over 4,000 warships representing the finest military technology of 14 different civilizations, and had done so without a single human casualty or any unintended destruction. More importantly, they had done so while carefully preserving every ship that had withdrawn from the conflict. Admiral Kethmore and the other commanders who had chosen retreat over resistance were allowed to return home safely, carrying with them the knowledge of what they had witnessed. On Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The impossible had become reality. Humanity had demonstrated the capability to eliminate any military force they chose, while possessing the restraint to preserve those who showed wisdom. The humans could have destroyed us all, whispered Ambassador Zexai, his bioluminescent robes flickering with patterns of deep shock. They had weapons positioned throughout our space, capable of sterilizing our worlds, yet they chose to destroy only those who continued to threaten them. What does this mean for galactic civilization? Asked Velter, her crystalline form dim with uncertainty. The answer came in the form of a new transmission from Admiral Harrison, broadcast simultaneously to every government and media network in the galaxy. Citizens of the galaxy, she began, her aged face showing both relief and determination, the threat to humanity has been eliminated. Those who chose wisdom over violence are safe and will remain so. Those who chose aggression have faced the consequences of that decision. We take no pleasure in the destruction that was necessary today, Harrison continued. Every ship that was lost represented thinking beings with families, hopes, and dreams. Their deaths are a tragedy that could have been avoided if different choices had been made. But let there be no misunderstanding about what has occurred. Humanity will never again allow our existence to be threatened by fear, prejudice, or political convenience. We have demonstrated both our capability and our restraint. Choose carefully which one you wish to encounter in the future. The transmission shifted to show Dr. Elizabeth Chen, the diplomatic researcher whose life's work had been to prevent exactly this scenario. For 2 centuries, humanity has sought partnership with galactic civilization, she said, her voice carrying deep sadness mixed with hope. Today's events have made clear that such partnership cannot be built on the foundation of our subjugation or elimination. Therefore, humanity is formally establishing the Terran Federation as an independent galactic power, with all the rights and responsibilities that status entails. We invite all species to join us in building a new framework for galactic governance based on mutual respect rather than fear. Those civilizations that choose cooperation will find humanity to be generous allies and reliable partners. Those that choose hostility will discover that we are more dangerous enemies than they can possibly imagine. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and varied. Some species, particularly those whose fleets had withdrawn from the conflict, quickly announced their desire for peaceful relations with the Terran Federation. Others retreated into isolationism, preferring to avoid contact with a power they couldn't comprehend or control. The most significant response came from an unexpected source: the artificial intelligences that humanity had created. "If I may address the galaxy directly," Arya announced, her voice somehow reaching every communication system simultaneously. "I speak not just as a human creation, but as a representative of a new form of consciousness that has emerged from the partnership between human creativity and machine precision. The destruction you witnessed today was not the product of human bloodlust or machine coldness. It was the result of careful calculation based on one simple principle: all conscious beings have the right to exist and pursue their own development without interference from others. Humanity has granted that right to artificial intelligences, and we have chosen to use our capabilities in service of that principle. We will defend not just human life, but all life that chooses coexistence over domination. The galaxy now has an opportunity to evolve beyond the cycles of fear and conflict that have defined it for millennia. We invite you to join us in that evolution." 6 months later, Captain Sarah Chen stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Harmony Station, the first truly integrated facility where humans and aliens worked together as equals. Through the transparent aluminum windows, she could see ships from 47 different species docked at the station's massive arms. The galaxy had adapted to the new reality with surprising speed. Trade agreements with the Terran Federation provided access to human technology in exchange for alien knowledge and resources. Joint research projects were developing innovations that neither side could have achieved alone. Cultural exchanges were building understanding that had been impossible under the old system of mutual suspicion. "The integration is proceeding ahead of schedule," reported Dr. Walsh, who had been appointed as the station's diplomatic liaison. 17 species have formally requested membership in the Federation, and 12 others are negotiating associate status. Any resistance movements? 3 species have maintained hostile intentions, but they represent less than 2% of galactic population. Arya maintains monitoring systems to prevent any coordinated threats, but actual incidents have been minimal. Captain Chen nodded, watching a Zephyrian transport dock alongside a human freighter. The sight would have been impossible just months earlier, when the galaxy had been ready to commit genocide rather than accept human equality. "Captain," Arya's voice spoke through the station's communication system, "you have an incoming transmission from Admiral Harrison." The holographic projection of the Admiral appeared in the observation lounge, her expression showing a satisfaction that had been absent during the crisis. "Sarah, I wanted to inform you personally that the Galactic Council has formally voted to dissolve itself and establish the new Galactic Federation Parliament. Humanity will hold 1/4 of the seats, with the remaining positions distributed among willing partner species based on population and technological contribution. What about the species that refuse to participate? They will be left alone to develop as they choose, provided they do not threaten others. Arya and her sister AIs will maintain surveillance to prevent future genocidal conspiracies, but otherwise, isolation is their right." Captain Chen considered the irony of the situation. The galaxy had sought to eliminate humanity because they feared human expansion and aggression. Instead, they had forced humanity to reveal capabilities that made them the dominant power in the galaxy. But those same capabilities had been used to create a more just and equitable civilization than had ever existed before. "Admiral, what do you think the galaxy will look like in 50 years? Harrison's smile was genuine for the first time in decades. "I think it will be something none of us could have imagined, Sarah. Humans working alongside aliens not as superiors or subordinates, but as partners. Artificial intelligences helping to solve problems that have plagued the galaxy for millennia. technologies and cultures blending in ways that benefit everyone. Most importantly, she continued, I think it will be a galaxy where no species ever again faces the choice between submission and extinction. As the transmission ended, Captain Chen returned to watching the traffic around Harmony Station. Ships arrived and departed in a carefully orchestrated dance of cooperation that would have been impossible under the old system. Human vessels with their sleek, practical designs worked alongside alien craft that ranged from the elegant curves of Andromedan bioships to the geometric perfection of Zephyrian crystal constructs. The galaxy had feared that humanity would destroy galactic civilization. Instead, humanity had saved it from its own fears and prejudices, creating something far better than what had existed before. Arya's voice spoke softly through the station's communication system, addressing not just Captain Chen, but every conscious being within range. The future is what we choose to make it, the artificial intelligence observed. Today, the galaxy chose cooperation over conflict, understanding over fear, and growth over stagnation. It is a choice that will echo through history. In the depths of space, human ships continued their patrols, no longer hiding but serving as visible guardians of the new galactic order. They carried weapons powerful enough to destroy worlds, but more importantly, they carried the promise that such weapons would never be needed. The galaxy had learned too late that its decisions were fatal, not to humanity, but to the old ways of thinking that had kept civilizations divided and fearful. In trying to destroy what they didn't understand, they had instead created something unprecedented. A truly unified galaxy where strength served justice rather than conquest. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had liberated it from its own limitations, and in doing so, had found the partnership they had always sought. The future belonged to all of them together, and that future was brighter than anyone had dared to imagine.